The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we will discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. Joining me today on the panel for our very first episode are Father Corey Stika. Hi, Father Corey.
How's it going, Dom?
Great. And also Joanne Mercier. Hi, Joanne.
Good day, gentlemen. How you doing?
Great. So we should probably first, for those who are new to the show, and new to SQPN podcast, maybe, introduce ourselves. So I'm Dom Bettinelli, and I'm the CEO of the StarQuest Production Network, and I'll be the host of The Secrets of Technology. And I'm also on a bunch of other shows that you can go to sqpn.com and find them. I'm a dad. I have 5 kids. I have a background in both working for the Catholic Church, but also in technology and media for years and years and years. And I lived just outside of Boston. And this is what I do for a living, which is great. Father Corey, how about you?
Well, in my day job, I'm a priest of the Diocese of Great Falls, Billings, Montana. I'm stationed in the small town of Malta, Montana, which unfortunately is absolutely nothing like the beautiful island of Malta. We're actually about 60 miles from the Canadian border in kind of the central part of Montana. That's my day job. My fun job is, or job, I guess, my fun work is to be the host of SQPN's Let's Talk community podcast, as well as working with Dom and Jimmy Aiken on Secrets of Doctor Who, Secrets of Star Trek, and whatever else we happen to pop up on.
That's right. How about you, Joanne?
Well, my day job has been pastoral associate for a lovely little collaborative in southeastern Massachusetts. I live in Rhode Island. I'm a wife. I have a dog. I'm a musician by trade, but I'm a self-proclaimed tech queen because I love all things technology and how they get my job done.
Excellent. Well, and that's what we're going to be about here. And it also, next week, we'll have a slightly different panel. So this is going to be a show that's going to have a rotating panel, different people each week. The same voices you'll hear, but we'll mix it up over time. It's just kind of keep it fresh. So the first question is why a tech podcast? Why yet another tech podcast?
Yeah, true.
So when I presented this idea to folks, and I said, all the tech podcasts out there are almost all of them are from people who are from either like New York or San Francisco, maybe Los Angeles. They're all working in the tech industry or around the tech industry. Mm-hmm. They work for these big tech publications. But what you don't often hear about are the other voices, the voices of people who are, not in that industry. And I mean, so yeah, Joanne and I live, in near Boston, which is a big tech hub. Malta, Montana is not near anything.
No.
So, but, it's, The idea is we're going to talk about technology from a uniquely Catholic perspective.
Right.
And so I wanted to get your take on that. First, what is it that you think you want to bring to the table when we talk about technology from a Catholic perspective? I'll start with you, Joanne. What do you want to bring to the table from a Catholic perspective?
I guess in my line of work, I work with a lot of different people at a lot of different levels. And I feel that they all shy away when I say, let's use technology, even though they have iPhones, iPads, computers, because they don't think that they can master the really heavy stuff. And that's not what this is all about. I mean, In the collaborative, we use technology to keep up with each other, basically, so that because there's so many of us. But everybody has their own level of uncomfortableness with it. So that's why I want to take part in this. And also because, and I know people might grimace, but I'm a woman who really likes tech. And while there are a lot of young ones coming up in the field, I'm pushing retirement a little bit. And I totally think that this is something that women should never shy away from. That they, believe me, if they can use it to see their grandkids on FaceTime, they can use it for other things.
Excellent. How about you, Father Cory? What do you hope to bring to the Secrets of Technology?
Well, I mean, first of all, just like you said, Dom, a lot of the people you see on the tech podcast, we can think of like the Twitch network or a Twit network and things like that. They are in the industry, whether as journalists, as producers, as the people who build the tech. You don't hear a lot of the voice of the people who use the tech on a day-to-day basis,
right?
Especially in a rural area. What is technology used like out here in middle of nowhere, Montana? Just as an example, I was visiting my family last week. They live in the Seattle area. My brother lives in the Seattle area. And him and his wife were actually surprised that we have Amazon Prime shipping, 2-day shipping to Montana.
Right.
It's things like that. It's like, what kind of technological levels do we have in these rural areas today? Because, you hear about that on the news every once in a while that, the rural areas are falling behind. And, there was a big push during the Obama presidency to put more high-speed internet in these rural areas. But what does that look like? What does that technology look like? So I want to bring that. But I also, of course, again, being from a Catholic perspective, as a Catholic priest, what are more the morality? What are the theological, the spiritual, the moral issues behind these technologies? Because a lot of these technologies can and are being used to help people's spiritual lives, to help people grow in their theological knowledge. But they're also being used for means that aren't quite so moral, either positively moral or negatively moral.
Right.
So we can also kind of bring that perspective into it as well.
Yeah, I appreciate both of those perspectives because that's one of the things. Those are both reasons why I want to do this podcast. I also approach it like the idea that none of us are journalists. We're not tech journalists. We're not pundits. And so many of the people that I listen to a lot of tech podcasts and read a lot of tech blogs and tech media, and it's all filled with people who it's their day-to-day job. They're tech journalists. They have a certain point of view. And a lot of times it's frustrating because, they have access to the latest technology. They're always got the newest gadgets. And that's not most people's experience.
Right.
And they also, and this is a kind of a fine line I want to walk because I don't want to get political, although politics inevitably comes up.
Will play a role.
Okay.
Yes. But so many of the people that I hear on tech podcasts don't think like I do when it comes to not just politics, but also just an outlook on life, a moral outlook, a social outlook. And not that we only have to hear from people who think like us. I like to hear from people who don't think like me, but who the people out there who don't think like me, who are they hearing? So we're offering that as another perspective that they can hear from, but also so that people who do think like us can also hear from people who think like them and get the full picture. And I hope that's what we're doing. We're never going to be strident. My goal is to avoid being strident, being combative, there's enough of that out there on social media. And that'll be one of our topics on a future episode. But the idea is to create a conversation about these technology topics that affect all of us.
Well, I was thinking, you're talking about these tech pundits, how they're so steeped in it and it surrounds them and they're constantly getting the latest and greatest. There's one particular Android podcast I listen to. The host generally has about 4 or 5 brand new phones a year that he's using. Right. And they're given to him by the companies to review. So he's constantly changing phones and you never hear, well, what does this top of the line flagship Android phone look like in 2 years, 3 years, when your typical home user is going to be saying, okay, like I've got the original Pixel phone. It's a 2-year-old phone now. I'm not going to replace it for another year, most likely. But what's it going to look like at 3 years versus, it's the brand new, shiny, latest, greatest, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. There's a place for people who do that sort of, I get every new phone because someone needs to buy, when you want to buy a phone, you want to hear from somebody who's tried it out. But there's also a place for the people who are using the phone like the other gadgets or the other tech the same way I will. Because when
Right.
you are a tech industry person or a tech pundit or journalist, you I think the access to certain things gives you a different perspective on those things. It makes you think about technology differently than say someone like you or I. And for example, I listen to one Mac-based podcast, and they're always on and on about, oh well, Mac people who use iPads, they want to do this and that and the other thing, and they want to get rid of their computers, and they want to.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, that's because all you do all day is write words. You're a journalist. Like, you don't need. I couldn't do without my Mac. I mean, I have to edit podcasts, but there's so many other things I do faster and better. I mean, that's not to say that for some people, yeah, they could get along with just an iPad, but that's not the perspective of a lot of people. And my goal is to talk to everyone about from all the different ways and keep that perspective in mind.
Yeah, I'm sure, like you, I have been listening to tech podcasts for now 10 years.
Yeah.
And we probably listen to the same ones.
Right.
And they've gotten very jaded.
Yes.
At least I feel that they've gotten that way over the years. And, because they have the latest and greatest, and that's all they do. So it'd be good to bring a fresh perspective, because I think people like us can, because we followed them maybe for a while, we can understand them. But anybody coming to listen to them now probably think they're so elitist. And so, I have to have the latest and greatest thing. No, you don't. You need to have what you need for what you're doing. If you have something that's too big or too small, you're going to be frustrated with it. You need something that works for you.
Right. Like the name says, I want to open up the secrets of technology for everyone. I don't want this to be a podcast just for the hobbyists or the geekiest. I want this to be a podcast for everyone. So what are we going to talk about? So some of the things we want to do is we want to talk about the technology topics that affect regular people, like social media, privacy, the rise of AI. I mean, are we looking at a future of the Terminator future? Let's get to the brass tacks and kind of open these topics up. Other things like the ubiquity of gadgets everywhere. Everyone's got a gadget in their hands at some point. It seems like parenting tech savvy kids. I have young ones. One of our other panelists has young ones, and I hope to add more panelists over time as we go along. Just as a note, but he has young. So talking about that from that perspective, and then reaching people at all ages, like you said, Joanne. That's tech isn't just for young people. More and more older folks are. And I mean, my dad is 86 now. He just turned 86 and just got his first iPhone.
Oh, wow.
And, helping him understand what it is. My dad asked me what I do for a living, and I told him I'm a podcaster, and you should have seen the blank look on his face, And I had to explain what it is I do. And the thing is, I want to make these things that seem so ubiquitous to us more accessible to everyone. And that's our goal there. So
I think of my folks when I think of this idea. I remember mid 90s when I joined the Air Force and I went off to my first base, getting this cool idea called email, where you can send a message electronically from one computer to another. And telling my parents about that, and my mom's like, I would have no use for that. Right. Well, then, of course, she got into a position where she got email, and they had home email, and also now, of course, it's ubiquitous.
Yeah. Now I can't stop my mom from emailing me.
I know. Yeah, and now they're forwarding this to 10 people. No, I'm kidding.
No, stop.
That's actually a future topic for discussion.
Then my first smartphone. I get my first smartphone, and it's the same kind of reaction. Who would want this? Well, now they both have iPhones.
Right.
Newer models. I mean, I think they're 2-3 years old, but newer model iPhones that they use every day.
Yes.
So
that's the thing.
My parents.
Go ahead, Joanne.
No, my parents would have been intrigued with all this. My father's been gone now for almost 20 years, and my mom passed away 6 years ago. My dad would have been absolutely intrigued. I remember before he passed away, I was showing him digital pictures, that you could actually see on the camera. And he was really intrigued, and he loved his VCR. My mother, on the other hand, would just look at all of it and go, eh. So it wasn't something that she would ever have wanted to use. And she'd see me using my computer and going, what are you using that? What's that box? What's this?
Yeah.
So it all depends. Because I work with people of all ages, I love to see the older ones and how they apply it and how, and some of them are really gangbusters. I mean, I've got people in my Bible study sitting there with iPads. So
Yep.
there you go.
Yeah, my father-in-law who has his iPhone out at mass every day because he can put it in large print and can read it and follow along.
Exactly.
And he does he's a third secular Carmelite. That's the term. And so he does his divine office from it and all that sort of stuff, which, otherwise you'd have to have a large print missal and all these other things.
Right.
It makes it more accessible to him. So
I'm appreciating large print these days, I'll tell you.
yes, so am I. As I get older.
Well, that's something we'll definitely talk about is what is the role of these technologies in our worship, our prayer life, our, everything we do as Catholics. There's been kind of a mini controversy in liturgical circles about using things like iPads in place of the lectionary or the Roman Missal. I've often joked that one of the missal producers just needs to take their covers and make an iPad out of it. So you've got the nice leather bound gold leaf, looks all pretty, and you open up and there's an iPad in there.
I think that's a great idea.
Somebody's already done that. World Library Publication
They have.
made
That's fun.
a cover for that.
I should have copyrighted that. I should have copyrighted that idea. No,
every great idea has already been copyrighted by somebody out there.
I know, but it's but do I would we see tablets replacing those books on a permanent basis? Yeah. There's an argument going on. That's something we could. That's something we could take a show and discuss. Is those kind of issues?
Yep, we'll put that on the list. Yeah, one of the things I want to do is just kind of as a introduction is ask both of you, and I'll ask Father Corey first on this one. What areas of technology, news or technology in general, are you most interested in discussing in the podcast?
Boy, it's such a wide range. Dom made up a list here of recommendations, and I look at that list and I go, yes.
Right.
Talk like home automation, smart assistants. Those go together. I'd love to have the. I've already got the Google Home, and I'd love to be able to say, Google, good morning, and of course I can already do that, and it turns on lights because I've got the LED lights. But then also have it fire up the Keurig and get the music going and do this and get so that I wake up, the shower's going, all that stuff.
Yes.
Of course,
you can do some of that, but yeah,
you can do that. Tablets and laptops and things like that, and smartphones and driverless cars, and I mean, just the areas that we could talk about in technology. It's like all of it, and then issues of security and privacy as well. And then again, getting into moral issues and just on and on. I mean, there's not much technology I don't want to talk about. So,
okay, how about you, Joanne?
Yeah, I have to agree, especially the home, the Internet of Things, where there is so much technology in everything we touch now.
Yes.
I was out at Lowe's, I think, and we came across the Samsung refrigerator with the big 17-inch, iPad-looking screen, and I'm going, so if your refrigerator breaks down, what happens to the rest of your refrigerator?
Right.
It's that kind of stuff that I'm interested in. And I'm also interested in, because depending on who's listening to this podcast, there are a lot, because I work in the church on a parish level, there are a lot of parishes and collaboratives that are afraid to embrace technology and are still trying to tell people how to do things or when things are happening through the bulletin or through snail mail, and they're losing their audience. So
parish websites are.
I'm there with you, because I'm looking at revamping ours. So it's a matter of, you've got to reach people where they are. If we need to spread the gospel, we need to use every single thing we can use, and technology is one of them.
We
So
could
if we
probably
have a
do
niche for that.
Yeah, we could probably do a whole series on parish communications because that I did that in the previous couple jobs.
Yeah,
myself.
we could actually probably do that as like a sub podcast off of this. I
Oh
mean,
kidding.
no! Here
Well,
we
another
go.
whole show. I mean,
Well,
completely separate.
We might do a
True.
series of episodes on that. That's a good idea. So I love the idea of home automation. I drive my wife crazy because I've installed smart bulbs and switches and stuff all over the house. Although I have to say they're getting into it. The family they're acclimating and they're putting up with me on it. But that sort of stuff. I love the smart assistants. I have the Amazon Echoes. But I'm trying to be very much aware that there are a lot of people there who don't trust it. They have trust issues with that's anything that can listen to you in the home, and I want to be aware of that as we discuss these things is to take those concerns seriously.
Yeah.
Right.
And of course, we all have those magic words we can't say.
Yes.
Exactly.
I've trained my kids
Delicious.
not to say that, to say the A word. Around the
Well,
house.
that's when I talk about Google. I can't use a phrase before it that starts
Yes.
with "hey" or "oh."
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Exactly. So we will the structure of the show will have at least 2 regular segments. We'll have a headline segment and then a second topic that we'll do, and then our third segment of the show we're going to do our as every tech show does, a pick of the week. And what we're going to try to go for with our picks of the week is we're going to try to talk about something that interests us and that we think will interest our audience. Something that this week. And that will interest our specific audience. And so maybe that's what makes our picks of the week a little different. In which case, I'd like to start off with Joanne. Can you talk about your pick of the week this week?
Well, it is an app that we use at the collaborative that functions almost like text messaging, but it's completely for groups. It's called Slack.
Mm-hmm.
And Slack is a great little, unfortunately, I'd like to get my new pastor in on this, but he's still not convinced of it. But it keeps, basically what Slack will do is it will allow you to basically message people, but within an environment. So if you want to talk to everybody, use general or random. But then you can create little niches like, here's for the faith formation leaders, here's for the musicians, so they can have their own discussions, but it's off your text messages.
Right.
What I can't stand is when my staff wants to talk on text message and they're bumping all my other text messages out, and then they want to start side conversations, which is bumping the original one out. So we got into Slack, and Slack has a paid tier, but we've never used it.
Right.
We don't use the paid tier. We use the free tier, and we can still.
It's a very
share.
generous free tier as well.
It is
Yes, it
very
is.
generous.
Yeah.
And even when we share documents, you don't have to go and say, let me email you this. You put it right through the Slack and you download it from the Slack. So
Yes.
for groups, for parishes,
Even for families. I know
I can
families
see
that
it.
do it. Yeah. In fact, the way it works is it sort of replaces text and email.
right.
And you set up channels where you could public channels where anyone can join. You can have private channels where just certain people can only they see what's going on there. Then you can have one-to-one conversations. We use that for StarQuest Production Network to help us organize things, and it's great. And it can send notifications to your phone. You can send notifications to your email. When you get a new message. So yeah, Slack, that's a great choice. That's an excellent one. And
but just like anything else, you have to be careful when responding who you're responding to.
Yes,
because you can sometimes say the wrong thing in the wrong channel, just like you do in a text message.
Technology has not yet substituted for thinking ahead.
Exactly.
Paying attention. Father Corey, what's your pick this week?
Well, if it's not clear, I'm very much in the Google infrastructure, and I've got Android, I have Google Assistants, et cetera, et cetera. Well, one tool that Google brought out when it first came out, I just didn't see it. I did not see the use case for it, and it's Chromecast, Google Cast / Chromecast. It's Google Cast is the actual streaming technology. Chromecast is the device. You've got this device you plug into your TV. It has no remote control. It has no graphical user interface. It has nothing. So how does this work? Oh, you use your phone or your tablet. And by the way, unlike Apple, it's cross-platform. It works on iOS and Android and works very well on both. I've used it with both. But the more I've started using, I finally got one of the little dongles a year or so ago. It was on sale, and I think it's the best streaming technology out there. I think for home streaming, for watching, I've got Roku. I've used it. I've got a smart TV. I use it. But I think Chromecast is the best because you pull it up on whatever you want on your phone, YouTube or Plex, or use BritBox when we're doing Secrets of Doctor Who or whatever, and you just say cast to the TV.
Yeah.
Boom. And that's it.
It's sort of like Apple Play, AirPlay.
It is. They're competing technologies, but again, the advantage of Google's is it is cross-platform.
Right.
You're not stuck with an Apple device. Right. My smart TV downstairs, I bought it because it's got Chromecast built in.
Right.
Oh.
And at CES, they just announced Samsung will be building AirPlay into its future sets too. So that's very interesting that Apple has done that.
That's a first.
That's a big deal.
I think Apple's looked at Chromecast and went, "Oh, we're losing this one."
It makes me wonder what the future of the Apple TV is then, because it's an interesting question. But I like the idea. But when I've tried to use my iPhone as my remote for my Apple TV, I get annoyed by the phone going to sleep. And then I have to wake it up and open it up every time. So I want to talk about that a little in the future. Yeah, that's a good one.
The Chromecast is nice because once you fire it off, you just set the phone down, and let it run. The only time you pick it up is if you want to, forward or pause or whatever.
Okay. So my pick is something I've just discovered, and it's even though I am a Mac Apple guy through and through, it's a Google product. It's called Google Family Link. And I just discovered it because we gave my daughter, who's 12, we gave her a Chromebook. We got it for free, and she uses it for her schoolwork. And Google, as its security feature for families, a parental control feature, uses Family Link, and it locks down what she can do with her Chromebook. So when they're under 13, I guess it is, they have to. They're very locked down. They can't install software or Chrome apps, and they can't do anything unless a parent explicitly allows it for them. And so this gives me control and oversight of what she does on her Chromebook. It lets me see that she's being safe. It controls who she can email to, who she can communicate with. So it's cross-platform. There's an iPhone app. There's the Android app, of course. It's not perfect. I've run into some things that make it more difficult to use. Hopefully they'll improve it over time. But it's if the school gives your kid a Chromebook, or if you get a Chromebook for your kid of some kind, this is a nice tool to use, and it works not just on Chromebooks but on Android phones and other things like that. So Google Family Link, check it out. So I think that'll wrap it up. We're going to try to keep these shows to about a half an hour, folks, so that we respect your time, and we can be punchy with it. We can stay with the heart of the matter. So we want to know what you think and whether you enjoy the show. So in just a second, I'll give you the contact information for the show. But first, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons at StarQuest Production Network who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Technology. We wouldn't be able to make this new show without having people who give us the support needed to do so. And today I want to thank by name Nicholas D., Richard M., Stuart J., Daryl M., and William C. It's through their generous donations at sqpn.com/give that they make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows at sqpn.com. And you can join them in supporting the SQPN by visiting sqpn.com/give. So, folks, let us know what you think of this discussion, idea for the podcast, ideas for future topics that you'd like to hear. You can do that by visiting sqpn.com/technology or the SQPN Facebook page. Just go on Facebook and look for SQPN. You leave some feedback or on in those places, or send us an email to technology@sqpn.com. You can find relevant links for our discussion, including our picks, on our show notes at sqpn.com, and you'll find out more information about us, the panelists for the show. We'll have that there as well. Remember to like the episodes of Secrets of Technology on the SQPN Facebook page, retweet them on Twitter, leave comments, subscribe to the show in iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, your favorite podcast app, or on YouTube, where you should hit the bell to get notifications when we post a new episode. Write a review in iTunes, please, or one of the other podcast directories. That's how new shows especially get noticed by people, how it gets promoted. We get it out there. And of course, that means share the podcast with your friends to help us grow. We're starting at 0, and so, 0, you're among the first listeners, hopefully. We need to grow to reach a larger audience. That's our mission, is to reach as many people as we can. So please help us do that. The only way we do that is with your help. So help us reach those listeners by sharing the podcast. Until next time, Joanne Mercier, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Thank you very much.
And Father Corey, thank you as well.
I'm glad to be here, and thank you, Dom.
Thank you. And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.